CFA Society Russia, like many of the international societies around the world, you know that the CFA Societies exists in 67 countries nowadays, and it is a tradition among CFA societies to gather once a year. Probably it's even a kind of a know-how of the CFA Institute, which is being maintained all over the world, to invite several prominent speakers, specialists in their fields in the financial markets of particular countries, and ask them to give their brief summary of the past year and their personal overlook at the coming year, at the coming 12 months, and at the current year. Usually these events happen in spring, when probably it's easier to be optimistic, and we like that this initiative has been supported. Today we have quite a dense, quite an intensive program. We will hopefully have a connection from London. We're now doing final testing of it, and obviously we have a panel of very interesting speakers. I hope you will enjoy this evening, and I am pleased to give the floor to the anchor of today's event, to the president of CFA Association Russia, Neil Withers, who will briefly introduce the speakers and give his foreword. Have a nice lunch. Thank you for coming.
Supper. We have some excellent speakers here tonight. Is this working? Guys in the back, you can hear me? Okay. With all forward-looking statements, there always has to be a disclaimer. We make no promises, and past performance may not be indicative of future investment results. We have, in fact, 7 speakers. We've an additional one. We're very pleased that a CFA member has volunteered to step in to fill in an important gap in our thing. We'll start with 2 people, actually 3 people now, who set the sort of foundation for CFAs and for the markets. Nitin Mehta, who's a CFA, who's the managing director of the CFA Institute from London, will be joining us through a video link. He's an acute observer of what's happening in finance, and we in the CFA societies feel that we're responsible for trying to make the world better. And we think that we failed in 2008. The future of finance is something we've really been working at it, trying to figure out what went wrong. It's quite clear it was greed. Greed was more important to most people than ethics. How to make that change is something I hope we get some words from Nitin. Sofia Donetz, who's here from the central bank, is head of the Division of Macroeconomic Policy. She'll give us a view about the central bank and the financial regulators on the effect. And I think one of the things that is tremendously different, I arrived in '98, and at the time the central bank really wasn't sure what to do. In fact, the whole financial system wasn't the stable entity that is now. I think we've got a much better situation in Russia than we had back then. Anton Gover, who's from the head of strategy from the Moscow Exchange, will tell us a little bit about the plumbing works. I mean, the exchange basically helps us do what we do. Without an effective stock exchange and the development of the stock exchanges, it would be very hard to manage finances in Russia. Then we get 2 people to help us understand the fundamentals behind investment performance. Oleg Kuzin from RenCap is an economist, and will try and give us a macroeconomic. Anton, hi. I'm almost about to introduce you. What's happening in Russia on the economic side, and then to make it interesting, we've taken Alexander Kornilov, who's the oil and gas analyst from Alpha Bank, and put him afterwards, because of course the major determinant of the economic performance of Russia is the oil and gas price. So we didn't want to give Oleg the answer first. And then finally we'll have 2 people address the most important people in finance. One, our clients, and second, ourselves. Vladimir Potapov, who's a CFA from VTB Capital and the head of their asset management group, will talk about the asset management part of our industry. And in fact, in the United States, which is not where I'm from, over half of CFAs are actually in retail asset management, family offices, retail brokers, etc. It's something that when I did my CFA many years ago, the CFA was sort of for wonks in analytical jobs and some corporate finance guys. I was a bank analyst in Canada. And then finally, the other important people in finance are ourselves. And Michael Gemmershausen will come back and give us a perspective on, he's from Antal, the head of Antal in Russia here, and they're an important recruiting agency in the financial sector. So we hope to get some perspective from him on, what are our future jobs going to look like? If anybody has a good job, let me know, or hiring people. So that's the schedule for tonight. But before we start, I'd just like to give a little bit my perspective. I've been here since '97. This is not as bad as '98. Russia's in much better shape. But looking around the world, I'm really unhappy with the state of financial markets. There's huge imbalances in almost every country you look at. The amount of money that the Fed has created by buying government debt, which is really just sort of out of this pocket into that pocket in the American government, is huge. And Milton Friedman said, inflation is a monetary function. More money doesn't create more economy, it just creates higher prices. The old MV equals PT, the prices are going down, transactions are not going up, money is going up, and velocity is going up. Velocity has continued to go up for the last, since the 30s. What's happened? I don't understand the economy, but when there's something so obviously out of whack, it means the future is going to be unpredictable, unstable. A bit louder? I asked you at the beginning, could you hear me at the back? I'm really concerned. I think the difference is Friedman's MV equals PT was in a closed system, and the system is not closed. Even in Russia, the system is not closed. The world is in integrated financial markets with a few barriers placed here and there every so often. But I think in the long run, it must continue to be integrated. When I was a student, most of us believed in John Maynard Keynes, and the lack of demand was caused by lack of demand caused unemployment and idle resources, i.e. a recession. Friedrich von Hayek was an upcoming guy, but he was sort of not the central aspect of what we learned in university. For von Hayek, lack of demand stems from a period of unsustainably easy money and artificially low interest rates. Does that sound familiar? Unsustainably easy money and low interest rates is what the Fed has been promising us, what the European Central Bank has been promising us, and it will have consequences, and I don't think the consequences are going to be a good normal growth. So I think generally as financial analysts and people concerned about the wealth of our clients, which should be our first concern, we have a very difficult period ahead. Okay. Oh, that's okay. That's what. And if we have Neetan.
They have a technical issue on their side. So let's.
Okay, maybe we'll leave Neetan for second and ask Sonia Donetz. Are you ready? Who is the head of the macroeconomic policy division of the central bank, just 100 yards down the street, to give us a few words about how the central bank sees things, or how you see things. Sophia, you need a microphone. And this is an informal evening. I'd welcome questions at the end of everybody's. You just turned it on?
Okay.
Speak into it.
One. Okay. Is it on? Not sure.
Vladimir? It's not on.
Hello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you have to hold it really close.
Okay.
Questions at the end of each speaker. And we haven't asked everybody to create a presentation. I think that speaking from your heart and from not a PowerPoint slide actually makes more effective. So,
Okay.
Sophia, thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil, for such a nice opportunity. It's my first time on a CFA dinner. For 3 years I'm CFA, but so it's just my first experience, and just very lucky to have a chance to speak to you this evening. It's gonna be a kind of an improvisation, and definitely only my personal view, not a central bank view, because I'm not an official speaker of the central bank, but still, all in all, we're going through very tough times, challenging times, but still interesting. And I think that the main feature is that it's very nice that Neil mentioned that the CFA community in these very challenging times try to still be a kind on an optimistic side, in a positive side. Just to the feeling that we are trying to do the system, the financial system, to work more in a more efficient way, in a more fair way. So from the central bank perspective, not too very good news, because what we see now is that we do want to see a fresh start, but we do understand that to have a fresh start, we need a rebalancing. So we need some kind of clear up balances. So I think that this year is going to be a year of rebalancing, with very low growth, with negative growth, like 3 to 4%. So, but I think it's. We should see it from an optimistic side, because we had a chance to have a rebalancing in 2008, and I think we just miss it. So it's a second chance, and let's hope that this time it will work. So we are preparing to see very low credit, pretty tough credit conditions, pretty low profits, but still somehow positive, some positive rebalancing in cost cutting, more efficient businesses and more robust businesses, and so let's still be optimistic. Let's hope for fresh start, very nice fresh start in 2016. So I think that's the main thing, just to hope for best and to be prepared to very tough times. So I think it's the core thing that's from the central bank perspective. So thank you, Neil, again. So have a nice dinner. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia.